What's up, guys? Today we're going to go over how to make an early game tree farm. This tree farm is pretty much manual, but it doesn't mean that we can't build it in such a way that we can maximize the growth efficiency of the trees, as well as making it look, in my opinion, aesthetically pleasing. Now, the first thing that I like to do with all of my tree farms is I like to add a small path that goes down the middle of the tree farm. Sometimes it branches off too, but for now we'll just keep it in the middle. This is completely optional. You don't have to do this because this is not where we're going to be growing any trees. But I think it makes getting around the farm a little bit faster. And in my opinion, I think it just looks nice to be able to walk through the path and have the trees on both sides. But it is completely optional. Next, what we want to do is build the growing areas where we will actually plant the saplings. So the size of the growing areas will depend on the type of tree you're growing. So for trees whose trunk is 1 block thick, and this will include your oak, spruce, birch, jungle, acacia, and cherry wood, we want to build growing areas that are at least 5 by 5 around the sapling. So there's 2 blocks on either side of the sapling to maximize the efficiency of its growth rate. So off the path here, what I'm going to do is kind of mark around a 5 by 5 area of grass. And I'll just do it and then explain it in a second. So I have an area of grass, and what I'll do is I'll plant a sapling in the middle. And the reason for doing it this way is because when a tree tries to grow, it first chooses the size that it's going to grow, and then it checks if there are any blocks within the space around it. If there are, it just fails to grow, and you have to wait again for it to try to grow. And I think each attempt is every 68 seconds or so on average, assuming you're not using bone meal. So the reason for keeping it open is to maximize how fast it grows, so that you can go and harvest your trees significantly more frequent than if they're all next to each other. This also gives you a lot more leaves per tree, which means that not only are the leaves going to be self-sufficient, except for maybe jungle trees, but you will also have extra saplings you can use to compost or something like that. Now, if we can do this all the way around, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we'll just make little growing areas, and I could even plant saplings in the middle of them every time. Just show you what I typically do. You can you can make as many of these growing areas as you would like. But ultimately, I typically only do 1 row of them, just having the path, and then I do 1 off of each side. But you're welcome to do as many as you'd like, because the more you have, the more trees you can grow at a time, of course. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make 6 of them, 1 for each type of tree that we're going to have in here. So I'll do, I think, acacia, and we'll do jungle, and then we'll do cherry wood. All right. So now this is enough for being able to grow the trees during the day. But if you are either underground or you're going to add a ceiling to the thing, and before I forget, if you do add a ceiling to the thing, I'd recommend doing it 11 blocks above your floor. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of air, and then the 11th block is the ceiling for your next story. But anyways, that is for the same reason of leaving the area that the tree's going to grow in empty, because some of the trees can grow quite tall, and you don't want to make the ceiling too short. And I also realized that I did not plant spruce. Okay. Anyways, got sidetracked. So this is great for growing the plants during the day, but when it's nighttime, you need to have some sort of artificial light if you want the trees to be able to grow at night. Now, this can be as simple as just putting a torch next to the trees. So one way to do that is you just place a torch right next to it. There's nothing wrong with doing this. It is in the growing area, so if leaves were going to grow right here, then it might hinder it, but most of the trees don't do that. I think, in fact, the only one that does do that is the oak, and it's an extremely rare variant anyways. So you're not really going to run into too many issues doing that. I think in the main case is you need a light level of 9 on the sapling. So you don't want to make the torch too far away. If you do the torch here, for example, that might be a little bit too far away. So you can either place the torch here, or we can use a block such as glowstone that lights up, and we can put it in the ground. And putting it in the ground not only keeps it out of the growing area, but it also has a brighter light level anyways, so that you will keep things lit better. So like, for example, I could do this or something, or even all 8. And this will make sure that it can grow at all times of the night. So make sure that you have some sort of light, and make sure that there is some sort of, maybe check that the light is 9 or 10 or higher on the sapling. If you press F3 to pull up this giant menu, if you find something called client light, you need to see that the block on the sapling is 10 blocks, and it will say 10 block. You can ignore whatever the sky says. And the reason for that is I think some trees require 9 above it and some don't. And I think like Bedrock and Java are different. So if you have 10 on the sapling itself, you will be completely safe. And you can check it using F3, and I will, yeah, sorry, it's really messy. There's no other better way to check it. If you put the stuff in the growing area or on the floor, you will pretty much be safe for the light levels there. Torches here might not be enough because they're a light level of 14 instead of 15, but torches here will easily be enough. All right, so I opted to put torches on the opposite side from my path, just because at this point in the game, I typically don't have glowstone or anything like that. But I can usually muster up some torches, and I just put one right next to it, and it's like on the opposite side of the path right there. I think this is the cheapest way. All the information I said is valid. It's just at this point in the game, and if I'm making a tree farm like this, torches are usually the only thing I have access to. So now that we can see that some of these trees are grown, we can also see that they grow pretty tall. In particular, like the spruce and the jungle trees and the acacia trees can grow quite tall. So something that I like to do in addition to the pathway, so we have the pathway down the middle, we have these like little, I don't know what they call these, buffer zones. I also like to make a little catwalk that I can go up and get on top of the tall trees in order to be able to mine them without having to like mine the trunk and then place dirt blocks and jump on them to be able to reach the top, because that can just take longer. So to make a catwalk, it doesn't really matter where you do this or how you do this. I'll go kind of fast because it doesn't matter too much. The thing that matters is that you don't go into the growing area and the height of the catwalk. So I'm going to go up by 8 blocks, I think. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I'll do one more. Actually, maybe we'll do like 10. Just using these ones, 10's better. 9, and then 10. So I am 1 block out of even my buffer zone. It doesn't matter as long as it's not within your like 5x5 growing area. Though we can see that the acacia tree would have been blocked had I had blocks within where the leaves are. So just a fair warning there. Sometimes the leaves can get clipped and it won't hinder the growth, but it really depends on each type of tree, and it's kind of confusing trying to figure out what to do. So the catwalk can be anywhere you want. Then what I do is I just kind of make a little, actually let's use top slabs. And then just to make it look nice, I will put a fence next to it so that we don't fall off. So you can have like a little catwalk like this, or if you go up the stairs, and I'll add some fence posts there too so that we don't fall off while we're trying to climb up it. If you add a little staircase up and a little catwalk, you can get on top of the trees and essentially so you can mine it from the top down, and that just is a lot faster in my opinion. So instead of doing the awkward way from the ground, we can then go on top of the cherry wood, and we can like start mining down this way. And I find this to be a lot faster, especially for the cherry wood and like the fancy oak trees that branch off, because then you can be up here and then you can grab the branches up here, and it's a lot faster. I built the other side of the catwalk because this one's a little bit easier to see exactly where I built it. So I did the stairs like 1 block off of my little buffer on the, the side that you enter from. And then the stairs on the long side is just 1 block off of it. And this is just to give it as much space as possible. I did it 10 blocks tall. So starting from the ground, I went up by 10 blocks. If you build a second story, you might need more than 10 blocks of space if you build your catwalk this high. But this just goes to show why you want to give your story space if you opt to have more than one story here. I usually don't build anything above it. I just do one story because I think it's easier to manage that way. But you want to leave enough space if you do. So in this case, we can have a catwalk. I can even place torches if we want to, make sure it's well lit. And we can kind of see what it looks like at night. If I want to do this, we can kind of make sure that it's at least reasonably lit. It's not the most well-lit thing ever. We could, of course, like add lamps or something right here to make it more well-lit. But ultimately, it's making sure that you have torches next to the trees, and then you can just see what you're doing otherwise. Otherwise, how it's lit doesn't really matter too much. I will set the time back. So this is great for growing trees that are small-ish. In particular, ones that have a trunk that is only 1 block thick. The 2x2 trees are going to require significantly larger growing areas. So we can talk about what those look like now. Now for the 2x2 trees, we can do the same thing where I have my path in the middle. It's still optional. We need to have growing areas that are significantly larger now though. So because of how big the leaves are, I would recommend a growing area no smaller than 10 by 10. So instead of 5 by 5, we're increasing it to 10 by 10 now. So in my little farm, I'm going to run out of space off the edge, but that is perfectly fine as long as I can plant the saplings themselves. So if I make a little area here, and I think it stops here. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then on the 11th one, I do my marker. I can essentially make a 10 by 10 area. It's just cut off because I run out of space. So if you want to center the saplings, we go 4 blocks on either direction in, 2, 3, 4, and then we plant our saplings in this pattern, right? So each sapling should be 4 blocks away from either side. Its closest side, I should say. So that it's centered. Now, in order to kind of mark off where the saplings will grow and to provide light, because the lighting requirements of the saplings haven't changed, I'll place torches in the corners, just like that, so that I know where to plant them and they're well lit. So if I grow one of these, and sometimes this takes a while with bone meal for some reason, I'm not sure why. It might be the torches, honestly, because every time I put the torches in the corner like this, it takes longer. But I find that it doesn't actually hinder, like there's nothing in the way, right? I don't know, maybe I'll place them like this. And then like add myself some blocks here. Make sure that it's a light level of 10, which it is. So if you place them 1 block away, maybe this makes it grow faster. Yeah, okay. I don't know why, because like there's nothing here, right? Like the vines aren't occupying the space. There's no leaves occupying the space. But I don't get why, I don't know. The torches seem to hinder it right here. So maybe place them 1 block away for the 2x2 trees. I can't explain that. I don't know why it does that. So you can see that we grow a tree. The leaves can be quite large. So like we can see that even though I have a 10 by 10 area, we have leaves even spilling over into this one, right? So they can be pretty large. Now, I don't think a catwalk is necessary for 2x2 trees though. And the reason is because we can use an axe to kind of chop upwards. This is how I kind of typically do this, is I chop 3 blocks at a time and make kind of a staircase all the way up. And what this lets you do is not only reach all the way to the top, but it also lets you take care of branches in the way, right? And this is kind of the same purpose that we had the catwalk originally. This just is a different way to get there, and we can do it with 2x2 trees. We can't necessarily do it with 1x1 though. So we can like take care of this branch, and then we can keep mining up, take care of, branches that might be up here, get to the top, and then we can kind of mine down. So maybe there's no branch there. Then you can kind of mine down, and end up chopping down the tree this way. So really all you need to know for the 2x2s is you need to have an area that's big enough to not only give you enough leaves to replenish your tree, but also to not hinder the growth like the 1x1s were. The reason that you want to be able to replenish your saplings is if you do something like this, where you have a bunch of trees all right next to each other, they're going to share leaves, and you might not be able to get the same number of saplings out as you put in. So you might actually net negative saplings, and you don't want that to happen over time unless you have like a huge amount of them. This is fine. The lighting gets kind of awkward because like if I place a torch here, this one can grow and it will block the ones in the middle, right? So you want to be careful. And I think just making them spaced like this is just faster in general. And it lets you get more saplings out of it and you can compost them or do other things. Alright guys, that'll be it for this video. I hope that the information in it allows you to maximize the growth efficiency of your tree farm. I hope you have a wonderful day and I hope to see you next time.